Hello everyone, my name is Nate with CSG, and I'd bet that most of you have been to a GameStop, and I'd bet that most people that live in America have at least at some point in their lives been inside a GameStop, if not for them, to buy something for a friend, a family member, etc. Now, we have started to see GameStop in the news over the last year or three talking about its incredible downfall. And yes, it is spiraling downwards. There are more articles coming out, it seems, by the day. And I'll have some in the description if you're curious to just how much money they're losing. And we're talking the hundreds of millions quickly, not over the course of a long period of time, quickly. It is like sand in their hands. It's just falling between the cracks, falling between the slits in their fingers. I mean, it's so incredibly bad for them. GameStop right now is in absolute panic mode. They're trying to figure out how they're going to pivot the business into something else that becomes profitable. And you see, like, they try to sell themselves, and when they have to come out with all their papers, the documents, and the finances, for the due diligence of a purchase, everyone wants to completely back out and stand away from them with a 10-foot pole. They ain't coming anywhere close to GameStop. So GameStop's having some problems right now. And when we're talking about from our end, as a consumer who's just going into the store to get something, we can see how, it's about time that this store went away. And it's very unfortunate because, to me, even though I'm like 22 now, going in as a kid, it was like Toys R Us, which Toys R Us has fallen as well. It's very exciting to go in and be surrounded by all these things that you love. When you're a kid, it was like all the toys. And when you go into GameStop, you get kind of that same feeling in a way. Obviously now it doesn't feel that way when I walk in as much, but it's still kind of cool to go in and be like, yeah, I'm pretty familiar with this type of stuff. The people that come in, I'm pretty familiar with somewhat the type of person they are when it comes to games, and I can talk to them about this stuff. But GameStop, how it's changed over time itself. GameStop, we always had the memes and the jokes about you go in with your $60 game and they'll give you $5 for it and all that. And even though it's funny to make jokes about that, that is how a business needs to run, so I understand why they do that. But we see other parts changing over time, like their introduction with iPhones, which was within the past few years, and they sell the different smartphones and tablets, and you always see a tiny section. It's never a big section, it's a very small section with that stuff. You see they start adding in a whole bunch of collectibles. Now when you go into a GameStop, it's like half the store maybe is collectibles, depending on the one you go to. I have one where I just moved within the past 2 years, and the one that's near me now is almost all collectibles. There's games on the walls, but then the entire middle of the store, and this is a pretty big GameStop, one of the big ones I've ever seen, it's completely full of collectible items, whether it's those little Funko minifigures, or I don't know, minifigures is Lego, but you know what I'm trying to say, or hats or shirts or whatever, which never seem to sell that well. And that is the business's problem right there. Nothing seems to be selling that well. GameStop made all their money. It seemed like where they can make the most was off their rewards programs, and that's why they're always, again with the GameStop jokes, you're just trying to check out with your game, but would you like to add an extra $5 and become a pro, whatever it was, become the pro rewards card member. I think I had it at one point, way back when, in the Xbox 360 days, when you actually had to go to GameStop if you wanted to get a game. And we're at a time where this type of store, it's starting to serve less and less of a purpose, where now, especially as I'm a PC gamer, we seem to point at that machine once a video. Now that I'm a PC gamer, there's absolutely no point for me to go into GameStop. Even back in the day, talking like 10 years ago, the PC game part of a GameStop was tiny. There was maybe one little row with like the most brand new of releases, and then some Blizzard games like World of Warcraft or Diablo, that you see even at Walmart sometimes. That was it. Everything else is console, which is how it should be. But now that consoles are turning into what PCs are doing, to where you just download all your games because it's more convenient that way. GameStop, the middleman, is starting to evaporate quickly. And you'll see some horror stories. I think it's on Review Tech USA, on Clean Prince Gaming. You'll see, and they get some really big views and big videos out of this, talking about the horrors of GameStop. And we don't know if every single GameStop is like that, of course, but I would not be shocked to see some crooked behavior going on at corporate. I'm not shocked to see that at any company, really. And it is so weird to see GameStop fall like how it is. And I believe it will be this decade, we're starting 2020 now. It'll be this decade, if not this next 2 years, that we see the company completely fold. I can say with complete confidence that GameStop will go through this year, because what GameStop is doing right now is they're just trying to probably hold as much money as they can last second. That's not falling, they're dropping a lot, but they're trying to hold some up until the not December, kind of December, holiday season of this year, because that is when GameStop will be able to move consoles again. And I'm sure this is the time where GameStop is moving the least amount of product they ever have, because they can sell used consoles. With the pre-owned stuff, they'll buy your console for $30 and then resell it for like 100 something, trying to get those used Xbox Ones and PlayStation 4s and all the older stuff. They are probably not selling many of those right now, because everyone knows that the PS5 and the Xbox Series X is about to come out, and the Nintendo Switch Pro. All this stuff is on its way. People aren't purchasing right now, so GameStop is really probably losing money over this next year leading up to holiday season. But then they're gonna cash some big checks for a little bit, and I bet not long after is when they fold, so that they don't lose any more. And GameStop had its time as we moved from like a hardware storage era with discs and whatnot and memory cards, and we moved to all wireless, and we're downloading our games. As we move to that, yeah, it's about time for GameStop to go. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the company as we know it today, GameStop, it doesn't mean it has to completely go bankrupt and be gone. I'm sure that if someone's smart enough up there, they can find some sort of new business practice. And even if it's somewhere in the game sphere, like I'm sure they've tried retro stores, but I'm sure that can't possibly do as well. I guess we'll see. They could turn into like a hub for Magic the Gathering type events. I don't even know if that's what Wizards of the Coast wants to do with their game these days. They probably just want to go straight to online only. And I know there's been less and less support for the tournament play as years go on, as someone who's played a lot of Magic in their life. And we'll see what happens with that company. My best guess is the people in charge end up just selling out eventually at a crazily undervalued price, just so that they can cash some big checks and then leave. But we'll see what happens. GameStop definitely will not be around for much longer, and it's kind of funny to see how that's happened over the years, because back then as a kid, when I was like 12, 13 years old with my Xbox 360, I was very certain that this was going to be around for forever. You can't even think ahead as a kid, thinking that, wow, I'm going to download all my games. Those are so crazy to me. Personally, I loved having the disc. I still do like having some sort of physical copy. When it comes to my PC, I don't care about that stuff. I don't know why it's like that. Go to PC, I only want Steam. Battle.net's fine. The rest are kind of annoying. I don't care about, I've never had a physical copy. That's not true. I had Penumbra by Frictional Games. We talked about that in a recent video. And another weird game called Cryostasis. Couldn't run either of them on my old laptop. 1 FPS probably. But I had them. But I don't care about that stuff. On console, I want the physical copy. Like I just had Bloodborne and The Last of Us purchased for PlayStation 4. And I loved having the physical copy. It's funny how that's changed. And when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, it's less of a hassle for me to have to go to the store, even though it's fun every once in a while. I'd definitely rather just download it at home and be done like that. On consoles, once they figure out how to stop gatekeeping everybody's internet, or what's the word? They bottleneck the internet, or throttle is the word. Sony and Microsoft throttle the internet on Xbox and PlayStation. When you have to download an update, and even though you have fast internet, like when I was doing mine, when I visited home over winter break, I couldn't believe how bad. We have great internet at our house, but Microsoft and Sony are just going to throttle the internet for updates on games. And it's so crazy how long you have to wait to download just a couple gig update. It's ungodly amounts of time. But we'll see. I'm sure all of that will be smoothed over coming with future generations, and GameStop might be gone for good very soon. Have a good rest of the day, guys. Take care.